I mean, I could look at that to see if there's some fundamental things. Well, I'm sure now I know an attorney could do that because
But
they
by
do.
the way, you wanna say that applies specifically to Florida, because in Minnesota there is a 20% allowance in in fuck up.
Wow.
Just
Well,
so you know.
let's see if there's an allowance for a fundamental error. So maybe we look at your fundamental errors doctrine to see if a fundamental error would require reversal, and then you may not have to worry about the 20% issue.
Yeah, that's the strategy I'm going with. But I'm just saying that fuck up in Minnesota won't get you anywhere.
Well, that being said, no, but I just think we can get a little bit further, and then for those, and also I wanted to say this also before I get into the subrogation question. Please don't send me things from people. Not, I have nothing against some of these other thoughts and stuff for child support, but before you all out there in general send me any of that goofy shit, read it yourself. Your answers are going to be there. I don't want to hear. I don't want to see anything else about somebody talking about child support is fraud. I don't want to see anything else from anybody talking about what's the other thing? It's unconstitutional. I don't want to hear any more bullshit about a judge. If a judge signs an order, it's void or something is not good, which is just goddamn ridiculous. If we want to talk about something with me, talk about the merits of the case, which goes back to subrogation. Inside, and I guess Rick was listening to one of my audios that are inside my Dropbox. And there was an instance in the case that I was involved in where the attorney for the state said that the mother applied for benefits, the benefits, state gave benefits, and the mother subrogated her rights to the state and some other blah, blah, blah. And are you there, Rick? And I said specifically to the hearing officer, actually, I said to her, is it your position that the mother applying for benefits gave her a subrogatable right? And to that, the hearing officer said, what, Rick? Do not answer that question. I don't know, Rick might be working still. Told her not to answer the question. And then naturally, I said some pretty choice things to him, and me and him got into it, and we just shut it down. And he forwarded the case to the judge, which brought me back to where we are now. And it was actually the same smaller case. I just thought it was a really interesting comment. You there, Rick?
Yeah, I'm here, but why would he tell her not to answer that question?
Objection would cause for state of me to know his state of mind. I just know that for him to tell her what to do sounds like giving her legal advice, and he's supposed to be a hearing officer. But he's saying that to the attorney for the Department of Revenue, not to answer that question. It's like if you read inside the Blessing versus Freestone case, and I know somebody throws that around as if it, and I don't even know what the fuck he's talking about when he's talking about the case because he sounds ridiculous. Essentially, the federal government gives the state government money to run the program. The state has broad discretion as to how they run that program. That program can be run with a lot of variance, except one thing that they can't do is violate any well-established rights, okay, or any well-established law, or any protected right, any well-established law. So what Justice Scalia pointed out is that it's an A and B relationship with every other person not being a party to the case. But what he also said, the back end of that is to say that the mother does not, that the state has no obligation to do anything for the mothers because they're in compliance, does not mean that the mothers don't have, wouldn't have an independent cause of action. And for those of us who've gone through a divorce, you would understand what the independent cause of action could come from. If you were divorced and the court determined that the father had, or the mother, one or the other, had to pay support, that's an enforceable right. And if the other party didn't pay it, that party who had the judgment in their favor could move to enforce the judgment. Okay. Does anybody have any questions with that? And I hope, did I make that pretty simple, people? And if not, raise your hand. And did I make that clear also, Rick? We talked about it off air, but the subrogatable right is, okay, what is a subrogatable right? In insurance, you understand it because what? The insurance company paid you for the damage somebody else did to you, and so long as you have that kind of uninsured motorist protection or the proper protection, the insurance company may pay out the claim and say, I'm gonna go after them for the money because they're the proximate cause of your injury, and we took up that liability for them up to the limits of your coverage because you paid a premium, and there's other nuance to it. But essentially, they're saying the mother subrogated her rights. Okay, but even if she subrogated her rights, what set of meritorious determinations showed that she was entitled to anything? Not to say that she's not, or she's not. With the guy, it's going to be a little bit different because generally, for a man to have gotten custody or to be a primary residential caregiver, at some point, for him to have gotten custody, some set of things were going to have taken a place along the way.